All right, y'all. I have the lucky element of Earth. So here's some things that you people with the lucky element of Earth should know. That it's your lucky element, so you're watching this video. Lucky seasons for you are the phases between each season. All right, so the transition from winter to spring, from spring to summer. Those transitional periods are your luckiest points in time as far as seasons go. Those would be referring to the months of the ox. All right. The months of ox would be January. All right. January 6th to February 6th, right? That's the month of the ox. Month of the dragon is April 6th to May 6th. Month of the goat, that is, that's July 6th through August 6th, the month of the goat. And then the month of the dog being October 6th to November 6th. And those are your lucky months, right? So your lucky years would be any time it's the year of the ox, the year of the dragon, the year of the goat, the year of the dog, and any time it is also the year of earth element. So coming years would be 2028 and 2029. Days, my lucky days would be the day of ox, day of dragon, day of goat, day of dog. Um, the days of earth, any type of animal, as long as it's the element of earth in it. And your lucky hour is gonna be, you got a couple, right? Since it's those four animals, right? So the hours of the ox, which is 1 a.m. to 3 a.m., which is also the hours of the dragon, which is 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. The hours of the goat from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. and the hours of the dog 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And those are your lucky hours. Now, when you're at a spot, you're living somewhere, you want to live in the center of that place. So let's say you're living in Denver, Colorado. You want to live in the center of that city. Central, central LA, central, any of it, the center of it, you know, um, center of anywhere, any place you live, you want to not be on the outskirts. You want to be in the middle, closest to, the center of town as possible. City, town, wherever. Um, and that increases your luck, if you don't care, but you do if you're watching this video. So set your bedroom where you sleep also to like the middle of the house. Wherever the middle of the house is, that's where you should sleep. That's where the best luck comes from. For you, somebody who has lucky element of earth, need to be around a wetter environment. But you can't be in that shit too much, right? Like, you don't want to be in a place that rains all the time, but you need to expose yourself to that, a little bit. It increases your luck, because soil doesn't need to be dry, right? It needs to be, it has to have some moisture in it. So, but you also don't want it to be too wet either, so you gotta, understand with doing these things, you don't want to do too much of this stuff. You want to do it at a time when shit is, bad for you, right? But when things are going good for you, You don't need to necessarily increase your luck. Things are already going good for you, so you don't need to do that because it's about having balance. Not having a surplus of or a um, depletion of any element. And you're doing this to increase your earth to bring balance to your own chart. So decorate your home also with symbols of oxes, dragons, sheeps, goats or dogs, right? And for your health, right? Don't worry or overthink everything. It's all right to, be practical and use sense, but you don't have to like think about everything. You got to also just do, right? Execute, that kind of thing. Don't just sit there and think about everything and then you're not getting anywhere. And then also it's just, it adds stress to you too. So take care of your digestive systems as well. That's your spleen, your stomach, and then also your muscles. And eat some sweets every once in a while. I'm not saying become, katakuri and eat donuts all the time, right? But like, do like have a day or something where you can do that shit. It's fine to eat some sweets sometimes. Preferably, better sweets for you. You don't want, you know, um, overly processed sugar, but something sweet every once in a while ain't gonna be bad for you. So careers related to Earth would be like real estate. Getting into real estate, architecture, design. You know, feng shui and fortune telling and building homes. You know, pawn shop owner, antiques dealers. Consultants. Um, church goer, accounting, funeral, a service person, attorney, secretary. You could also be a gardener, farmer, potter, or somebody that deals with animals, like a zookeeper or a veterinarian. You but things that you can also do to increase your luck would be wearing brown or yellow, as those are the lucky colors for this element, yellow and brown. So wear brown or yellow. Color scheme your home in those kind of shades of color, like shades of brown and yellow. And then drive a car that is of that color, yellow or brown, that increases your luck. Names with U sounding names that have like a U sounding name, you will have increased luck, as that is related to Earth, having a U sounding name. Now, if you have a name related to Earth, like let's say Gaia or Terra, or I don't know, your name relates to Earth somehow, and then your luck is increased automatically just from that. Wearing jade, like jade jewelry, increases your luck. People with the earth element, you should do like these kind of activities like gardening, camping, hiking, going to church, temples, meditation, chess, poker, and like card games, those kind of things. And so I'll leave this video saying this, people with the earth element as their lucky element will have a low score. So when you put your information into an astrological calculator, right, they'll have numbers designated for each of the elements. And the element that has the least amount or the lowest numerical score, that is your lucky element. So your lowest score or weakest element would be earth. But you're doing all the things that I just listed off to you to increase the earth in your life, right? The earth's energy in your life, creating more balance in your chart, right? Because you don't want to have less earth, you want to have more of it. But also remember this: you don't want to do this shit too much to where you have a surplus of earth. Do it at the times when you need better luck, or you need to increase your opportunities, right? You're trying to do that, right? Attract more, do these kind of things. Also, another element that's also kind of secondary to Earth, because it feeds into Earth. It's called like the mother element because it feeds and paves the way for Earth. It's fire. So fire paves the way for Earth to thrive in. All right, fire does that because like think about burning out a field of whatever, right? It's a blank slate. You can build whatever the fuck you want on it. Now that increases your luck too, utilizing like the fire element with the earth element can also help you. Um, so remember that when doing this, definitely do these things. Definitely implement these tips. Small things like that. But don't get too lost in that. Don't be like, oh, my lucky element's earth, so I gotta do this all the time to increase my, you know, more time when you like, you probably clicked on this video because you wanted more luck in your life because you are down bad in some kind of way. And you might know that your lucky element's earth. And if you don't, I got you with natal reading. That's gonna be $350. $300 cash. But be cool, calm the corner, and I'll have other videos out later. I'll do um, the lucky element of metal next week.